Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Pain Olympics, or in many cases, lack thereof. So that's just something that I've noticed, again, with society, is that we have this issue where we try to make some sort of hierarchy of pain, where if you've suffered in certain aspects, that therefore your pain is more prioritized than others. And the sad fact is that pain is pain, and that we shouldn't try to create a hierarchy. And that's really just kind of been the source of a lot of pain, is this constant arguing over whose pain matters more, rather than just identifying that a lot of us are going through a lot of painful events, and that individually and collectively we need to be able to gather together with. I think it's important to collectively get together with people who suffer from the same pain that we do. That way we have support, and we can give support. We have a lot more understanding on that subject, rather than being told our pain doesn't matter because it's not as significant as somebody else's. Again, that's why a lot of people don't get help, is that they are constantly, I want to say, rebuked or judged based on their pain, or how somebody perceives their pain. And they're told essentially not to hurt, and that they're being weak, and that there are other people out there suffering more. And it very well could be true that there are people suffering more, but that doesn't mean that individuals don't need help. And so that's something that needs to be talked about, that's discussed and understood, is that no one's pain should be diminished. Especially too with what's going on in societies. I've seen it, so much of it, where people really aren't compassionate towards each other. They're really not empathetic towards each other. And I understand if we're trying to bring attention to a certain demographic of pain, there's nothing wrong with that. But when people are trying to comfort other people, and their pain is diminished because it's not as significant, or at least is not as significant in the eyes of others, that it's dismissed and mocked. It's just disgusting, because that is in fact why all this pain is going unchecked, why it's going unhealed, is because more people put effort into hating and judging each other, rather than simply identifying that we're all hurting, and that we all need help, and we all need to help each other. And for example, especially too with this Black Lives Matter and the police, was it that I from what I've seen, and not everyone by any means, but what I've seen a lot of people have this attitude like you can't give comfort to both sides, where there'll be points where they'll be discussing and talking about Black Lives Matter and the injustices and so forth projected on black people, and then the rebuttal is that white people are mistreated as well. And I'm like, that's not a rebuttal. That just means that black people, or that white people, get that screwed over too. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't help black people, and we shouldn't say Black Lives Matter. In the same instance, there was a family friend of mine who had made a post about this girl whose dad was a police officer, and she was in tears because everyone hated her father, even though her father risked his life to protect everyone. And I just tried to give her some support, and somebody went on there and started lecturing me and this woman about how imagine this pain and then more pain. And it's just like, why are you trying to hurt me? Why are you trying to hurt this other family? We're just trying to give each other support. If one of us had said something negatively towards Black Lives Matter in our post, I could see where it was prevalent to stand up for that. But so many times I see people where we're just trying to comfort each other, and somebody has to go bulldozing in and start hating for no reason, for no productivity at all, simply just to diminish someone else's pain. And that's the vicious cycle that we're seeing in society, is where we're having our own pain denied, and so we deny the pain of others. And it's just this fact where it's like that domino effect has to stop. It has to. There's no way that we can get help, and that we can heal and grow and understand our pain and help other people heal, if we're in this constant, as I referred to at the beginning, pain Olympics. It doesn't work. Everyone loses when we look at pain from that standpoint, because objectively speaking, I think that any pain in this country is minuscule by comparison to the pain of others in different countries. Because if you look at the quality of life, or lack thereof, in third world countries. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sorry about that. So as I was discussing, that was just one of those things that I had kind of thought about, was that if you look at the quality of life and the standard of life in so many other countries, whether it's in the poor areas of Asia, or in the Middle East, or in Africa, and so forth, the challenges that just everybody faces on a day-to-day basis would, in this country, the United States, would be the most horrific experiences that people could experience. And that's just, like I'm saying, that's just the standard to me, from what I understand, with these foreign countries. Is just the mistreatment that people face in foreign countries is so much more significant than that in the United States on a regular basis. And so, just from that, by that standard, if we are in fact going to live our lives by the pain Olympics, so to speak, and then it's like 99% of the people in this country can't say anything about their pain, or identify that they're hurting, because it's minuscule in comparison. And so it's just like, that's not the way to heal. That's not the way to get understanding with our pain. It's simply to be compassionate and acknowledge the fact that even if we don't see the significance of someone's pain, if we just on the surface see that, oh, you lost an extended family member, oh, you lost a grandfather or grandmother, and we just we filtrate it between our own perspective of what that means and what that value means within our own lives, rather than the fact that we aren't realizing that there are people that have so many more significant relationships that we don't necessarily have, and vice versa. Just in my own case, being a twin, yeah, there aren't a lot of twins in the world. And before, what do you call them? I say before not artificial insemination, but yeah, just before the advancements in medicine, being a twin used to be an excessively rare thing. And so, yeah, that's just one of those things where, I have the opportunity to have a relationship that most people don't get to experience or comprehend. And you can read books all day, and you can, listen to twins talk about what it means to be a twin, but unless you are in fact a twin, you don't comprehend it. It's like reading a book about somebody who went and visited Mars. You can get an idea of what happened, but you can't know it, because knowing it is living it. And so again, you can't know someone else's pain unless you've lived their pain. And so again, this counterproductive judging of people's pains and diminishing their pain and belittling it is just, it benefits no one. Like I said, if just because someone isn't prioritizing a certain cause that you deem to be extremely important, significant, doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. You don't know if they're a caregiver. You don't know if they volunteer at shelters and Habitat for Humanity or all these good things. You don't know what they're giving, and you don't know what they've been through. You don't know that the mere fact that them just trying to smile and not let their own pain defeat them, you don't know if that's what they're contributing towards this, the healing of this world. And so again, it's just really important for us to quit the self-righteousness, to quit the moral high ground attitude, like somehow it's our job to shame people into helping, and act like somehow that the certain subjects of pain are the only pain that matter. Because the fact of the matter is if we really want to be able to heal all these pains and make huge strides in them individually, we have to self-reflect and heal our own pain. That's something I realized was for years and years after my brother was killed. My focus was on trying to help people around me, trying to help my sisters and my parents, and just try to be a strong image and be okay. And so by that, I hid my pain. I didn't let them know how much my twin brother's death had affected me, and it just kind of drained me. And so after so many years, my pain started coming out involuntarily, to where I would just snap and get enraged, and I didn't understand why until I self-reflected and realized it was because I hadn't allowed myself to cry. I hadn't allowed myself to openly mourn my brother's death. And so I realized how important it was for me to heal myself. And I think once I realized that the reason it's so important for you to heal yourself is because, if you're weakened by your own pain, then you can't give 100% when you're trying to help others. That it's, it very much is that concept of like, if you're in combat, you have to seek to your own wounds, not because you're being selfish, but because you realize that if you're limping along, you're not going to be doing anybody any good. You're not going to be able to carry another Marine or soldier. You're not going to be able to drag anybody out because you're going to be barely be able to move yourself. And so, once you realize that self-reflection and self-healing isn't about being selfish, it's about seeking to be selfless, then at least for myself, it became much easier for me to try to seek to heal myself, because I realized I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for my kids and my wife and those around me. to where I could be more of an aid to them. But again, a big part of that is not having people drag you down and tell you you're not doing enough, and that it's wrong for you to give aid to somebody because their pain isn't as significant as somebody else's. That really is just this constant thing where, I think we need to do what we can. And like I said, just because someone's not directly giving to a certain cause doesn't mean they're not giving, and doesn't mean they're not helping people in need. And again, it's just constant things that keep coming up every time we have a dilemma, every time we have some type of tragedy, where we're trying to heal or trying to figure out a solution. So much of what prevents us from progress is, again, this public shaming, this public hate, and it has no product, it has no production at all. It doesn't aid anything. It doesn't aid the cause that you're trying to bring attention to. It doesn't aid the person that you're ridiculing. It just is just negative, cancerous behavior, and it makes people not want to talk about it. It makes people not want to even get in a situation where you could potentially be judged because of how you feel, or at least your perspective. But again, these are just a subject that I think it needs some reviewing for people, so that we can figure out how to come together truly, not just say, not have the bumper stickers that says coexist, but how do you actually apply that to life, especially when we're all suffering. We're suffering in different areas of our lives. But as always, good luck and good night.